Going home for the new year. Matchmakers had practically worn down the threshold of my childhood sweetheart's house. My mom looked at me like I was a total disappointment and scolded. If you weren't so useless. I'd really want her to be my daughter-in-law. I kept playing my game. Answering absent-mindedly. What can I do? A toad can't exactly feast on swan meat. What my mom would never imagine, even in her wildest dreams, was that Willow and I had been in a secret relationship for 3 years. She had carefully built herself a single and thriving image, and forbade me from making our relationship public. She even told people the flowers I gave her were from clients. So I completely gave up and broke up with her. She let out a mocking laugh and agreed immediately. She said, "There are tons of guys chasing me. Who do you think you are? I can easily find someone better than you. Can you find someone better than me?" Chapter 01. Hearing my self-deprecating answer. My mom shot me a vicious glare. There was clear frustration in her eyes, the kind that says she's disappointed I never lived up to my potential. She was just about to start lecturing me again when Aunt Lou called, inviting us over for dinner. My mom insisted I go with her, and just like that, I ran straight into Willow Lou. At the dinner table, Willow sat beside me, as naturally as ever. She picked up a shrimp, placed it on a plate, and pushed it toward me, clearly expecting me to peel it for her. I frowned and pushed it back. She glanced at me sideways, the corner of her lips twitching in silent disdain. Nearby, my mom and Aunt Lou seized the opportunity to chat enthusiastically. That afternoon, a friend of Aunt Lou's had come by with her nephew, just visiting, they said, but everyone knew it was really to let the nephew check Willow out while she was home. Willow had only been back for half a month for the new year. Yet the threshold of her house had nearly been trampled flat by relatives and neighbors coming with introductions. In previous years, Willow hated dealing with this sort of thing. She would always find some excuse to avoid it, but this year, surprisingly, she was cooperating. Chapter 02. My mom started asking about the blind date candidate's background. Aunt Lou counted on her fingers as she listed it out. PhD from B University. Works as a lawyer in S City. Both his parents are university professors. My mom took Aunt Lou's phone to look closely at his photo. This young man looks sharp. Good education. Good job. Good family background. What's there to be picky about? Aunt Lou covered her mouth and laughed. The ones introduced to Willow all have great qualifications. My eyes are practically overwhelmed. My mom nudged her enviously. You're so lucky. Willow's so pretty and accomplished. Of course the ones introduced to her are top tier. Then my mom turned to Willow Lou and asked curiously. So, Willow, what do you think of today's guy? I kept my head down, pushing rice around in my bowl. Not saying a word. George. Willow suddenly called my name. I turned to look at her. With a faint, ambiguous smile, she asked, "What do you think?" Chapter 03. Hearing that, Aunt Lou quickly handed the phone to me. That's right. That's right. George, you know Willow best. Help her screen him. I stiffly took the phone. In the photo, the man had well-defined features and a dignified appearance. He was wearing graduation robes from a prestigious overseas university. He smiled brightly at the camera. The kind of confidence and composure that comes from a life of privilege was something I could never hope to reach in this lifetime. I turned my head and met Willow's teasing gaze. The scene from the day we broke up resurfaced in my mind. That day, she slung her bag over her shoulder and complained in an irritated tone. George, what are you talking about? When did I ever build some single image? Is that really what you think of me? Suppressing my anger, I enunciated each word carefully. We've been together for years. Out of the 100+ videos on your social media, is there even one that has anything to do with me? The only one was the flowers I gave you on Valentine's Day, and you told people they were from a client. She snapped. Why are you yelling? What kind of attitude is that? I seriously don't get it. Is making it public really that important? In the 3 years we were together, she never once agreed to make our relationship public. When introducing me to others, she only ever said I was the boy next door. In the past, I told myself she was just shy, worried her family would criticize her, but year after year, I could no longer lie to myself. To put it nicely, she never truly intended to walk this road with me from the start. To put it bluntly, she was keeping her options open while staying with me, seeing if she could trade up. In the end, I was exhausted. The word breakup slipped out just like that. She froze for a split second, then let out a contemptuous laugh. Fine, then we'll break up. The next moment, her sharp, cutting words pierced straight into my ears without restraint. There are tons of guys chasing me. Who do you think you are? I can easily find someone better than you. Can you find someone better than me? At the time, I completely lost it. Rage burned through me as I shot back. Fine, then go. Go find someone better than me. Back then, I was overwhelmed by emotion. There were things I didn't want to face. Now that I've calmed down, I have to admit, she wasn't wrong. She was the campus beauty of a top university, a Master of Laws graduate, After graduation, she joined a well-known law firm. And me, I graduated from an ordinary university and became a schoolteacher. We were worlds apart, cloud and mud. You could even say I wouldn't have met the minimum bar to be one of her blind dates. I looked at her, and for the first time, my heart felt unexpectedly calm. I could even force out a faint smile. Shrugging, I said, "Seems pretty good. He's a good match for you. It's about time you started dating someone." Her eyes slowly turned cold. "Fine," she said. "Then I'll add him on WeChat later." Chapter 04. After dinner, I went to the restroom. When I came out, I found Willow standing at the door, watching me leisurely. "We need to talk," she said. I couldn't be bothered with her and tried to sidestep her, but she suddenly reached out, hooked her arm around my neck, and forced me to step backward. I turned my face away. She leaned in even closer, rose onto her toes, and lightly bit my ear. After 3 years together, we knew each other far too well, knew exactly how to make the other give in. She pressed her lips together, her voice slightly husky. "You really want me to add him on WeChat? Can you bear that?" I raised my hand and pulled her away. "If you want to add him, then add him. Why are you asking a neighbor like me?" She gave a faint smile, took out her phone, and waved it slightly before holding it up in front of my eyes so I could see the screen clearly. It was a friend request, from that very man. Her index finger tapped the screen as she asked in a lofty, testing tone, "So, do you think I should reject it, or accept it?" This was the step she was offering me. It was also her way of signaling reconciliation. Just like when we used to quarrel, if it was my fault, I had to apologize and coax her, but if it was her fault, she would awkwardly bring up a topic to signal she wanted to make peace. And if I failed to take the hint, she would end up even angrier than I was. Willow had always been that proud, that composed. In this relationship, she had always been the one standing above. I frowned, annoyed, took her phone, and without thinking for even a second, pressed the button to accept the friend request on the cold screen. Willow's face darkened instantly. Chapter 05. Willow and I had gone to the same schools from elementary through high school. In middle school, I began to harbor different feelings for her, but I never confessed. I watched as she grew more radiant by the day. I watched her report cards become increasingly outstanding. I watched as people pursued her in an endless stream. Inferiority became a required course in my youth. And yet, for 10 years straight, she waited for me every morning so we could go to school together. I would slowly push my bike out of the house and take the breakfast she had specially prepared just for me. Sometimes, sitting on the back seat, she would tug at the hem of my shirt and complain unhappily, "If you're this slow again next time, I won't go to school with you." But the next time, she would still stand there waiting for me. What she didn't know was that I deliberately slowed down before leaving the house, because I didn't want her riding my bike. I was far too aware of the gap between Willow and me. She was in the bloom of youth. One day, she would meet someone worthy of her, sit on someone else's bike, and go somewhere farther than I could ever take her. Back then, I didn't dare hope she would ever like me. And yet, somehow, by a twist of fate, we ended up starting a relationship anyway. Chapter 06. It was the summer of her second year of graduate school. We were watching a movie at home. I had clearly chosen a suspense film, but out of nowhere, an intense kissing scene suddenly appeared on screen. Flustered, I grabbed the remote and turned it off. She lifted her eyes to look at me and teased deliberately, "What? Too inappropriate for minors to watch." I panicked for no reason and hurried to explain. "It's not that, it's not appropriate to watch with you." She leaned closer and tilted her head. "Then who would it be appropriate to watch it with?" I grew awkward. With my future girlfriend." She went quiet for 2 seconds. Then she smiled softly and suddenly leaned in. A softness covered my lips. After that, she winked at me, let out a light hum, and turned the movie back on. "From now on, you're only allowed to watch with me." I have never forgotten that sentence. That was how we began. For the next 3 years, we were entangled. Sweetness and pain intertwined. But eventually, the pain far outweighed the sweetness. I once thought that as long as I had once possessed her, I would have no regrets. Yet no matter how tightly I tried to hold on, all I embraced was emptiness. Had I ever truly possessed her? Chapter 07. 3 days later, we ran into each other at a high school classmate's wedding. The banquet hall buzzed with voices, glittering with light. At the same round table, she sat right beside me. She was tall and slender, wearing a perfectly tailored, waist-cinching evening dress that made her even more eye-catching. Just sitting there was enough to draw frequent glances from guests at other tables. One of the groomsmen walked over, gathering his courage to ask for her WeChat. She glanced at me before politely declining. After a few rounds of drinks, a female classmate called out loudly to Willow, "Willow, just tell us already, what kind of guy do you actually like? A childhood sweetheart, a domineering CEO type, or a younger guy?" Willow looked at me instead and smiled faintly. George, what do you think? All eyes turned to me at once. Even Willow rested her chin on one hand, tilting her head as she waited for my answer. I took a sip of water and said calmly, I don't know, but definitely not a childhood sweetheart. Some classmates nearby chimed in. Yeah, Willow definitely doesn't go for the childhood sweetheart type. She's known George for so many years and there's never been any spark. Just then, the bride and groom came over to toast. The moment passed quickly. The groom and I were fairly close. After the toast, he wiggled his eyebrows at me and said, George, didn't you tell me last time that you were still single? There's a bridesmaid here who's really pretty. A few groomsmen asked me to introduce them, but I turned them all down. I saved her for you. Come on, get up, I'll take you to meet her. Before I could answer, someone suddenly tugged at my sleeve. I froze and turned to look at Willow. Her face showed no emotion, as if nothing were wrong. Under the table, her left hand gripped me tightly, but with her right hand, she leisurely held a cup of black tea. Taking small sips, she tugged at my sleeve again and again, as if telling me not to go. This was the second step she was offering me, but I had already made up my mind. I brushed her hand away and stood up. Sure, I said. Let's go. I'll take a look. Chapter 08. The groom slung an arm around my shoulder. As we walked, he pointed toward the bridesmaids' table ahead on the left. See that? The prettiest one at that table. I had just broken up with Willow. To be honest, I wasn't in any rush to find someone new. I was only using this as an excuse to leave the table and get some air. After all, sitting at a wedding banquet with your ex right after a breakup, it's bound to feel uncomfortable. At that moment, I followed the direction of his finger. The woman sat there gracefully, chatting with others, even from a distance. Her delicate features and exceptional presence were impossible to miss. The groom grinned and nudged me. So, pretty or not? I think she's a flight attendant, flies domestic routes. Maybe you've even been on one of her flights. I joked. She's definitely pretty. Where did you even find her? He laughed heartily. My wife's best friend. I've got to look out for my brother. Right. When the groom brought me over to the bridesmaids' table, he called out loudly, Anna, let me introduce you to a friend. At the sound of her name, the woman turned around to look at us. The moment her bright eyes met mine, both of us looked equally surprised. This wasn't the first time I had seen her, nor was it the first time someone had introduced her to me. Chapter 09. Anna stood up and let out a light laugh. Mr. Wang, what a coincidence. We meet again. Her voice was calm and clear amid the surrounding noise. The groom standing beside me froze slightly. His amused gaze shifted back and forth between the two of us. So you two already know each other. If I'd known, I wouldn't have tried to play it mysterious. I lightly bumped his arm and explained in a low voice. Her nephew is a student in my class. We met once when I called in a guardian. The groom nodded in understanding, then turned to her and asked, What did your nephew get into at school? A playful smile immediately rippled through her eyes. She parted her lips and said one word, puppy love. The groom's eyes widened instantly. In 3rd grade, he's already dating. Chapter 10. Remembering Anna wasn't difficult. After all, she had the kind of face you never forgot once you'd seen it. And the day she came in as a guardian was still vivid in my mind. Her nephew's name was Bobby Jinx. In class, he was passionately pursuing his desk mate. The girl had complained to me, saying he kept disturbing her studies. 2 months ago, in the school office, Anna sat in a chair, listening as I laid out the accusation of her nephew's puppy love. Bobby Jinx stood beside her. His little mouth kept trying to bargain with me. George, just let me off this time. Okay, I don't want to change seats. I'll introduce my aunt to you as your girlfriend. My aunt's a flight attendant. I had just lifted my teacup to take a sip. The water went down the wrong way, and I started coughing uncontrollably. Thank you, I managed, steadying my breath and trying to keep my voice serious. But I get airsick. The woman in front of me couldn't hold back her laughter. She pinched the boy's cheek and teased. You little rascal, selling out your own aunt just to chase a girl. Resting her chin in one hand, elbow on her knee, she lowered her gaze to meet the boy's eyes. Well, she drawled, the hint of amusement fading into something more thoughtful. Chasing a girl is kind of like flying a plane. First, you've got to check the flight path. You need to see whether that young lady's airspace allows you to take off. Second, watch the weather. A girl's mood can change like the sky. Don't go flying straight into a storm. Third, and this is the most important, don't lower your altitude too easily. And never give up control. Remember, no matter how much you like someone, you can't lose yourself. After finishing, she pinched Bobby Jinx's cheek again. Go back and reflect properly. No more unauthorized flights next time. Watching her seriously lay out a whole methodology, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She had come as a guardian to cooperate in educating the child, and somehow it had turned into a live lesson on how to date. When she was about to leave, she nodded at me. Mr. Wang, sorry for the trouble. Her tone was sincere, but the trace of laughter that hadn't quite faded from her eyes shimmered like scattered starlight. By the way, Mr. Wong, I'm not always up in the sky. After the door closed, I realized that at some point, the corners of my own mouth had lifted slightly too. Chapter 11. After hearing the whole story, the groom was laughing so hard he could barely stand. I can't, this is killing me, he asked. So what happened after that? Did her nephew actually win the girl over? At the mention of that, I closed my eyes in despair. Originally, Bobby Jinx had no idea what he was doing. The little girl barely paid attention to him. But after Anna gave him that bit of guidance, he had an instant epiphany. Just thinking about it gave me a headache. I sighed helplessly. He did. They're officially the class couple now, I added. Guess only women truly understand women. A month after the Guardian meeting, rumors started spreading in class about the two of them dating. This time, I didn't dare call in the Guardian again. All I could do was move their seats apart. The groom burst into laughter. Anna, George called in a Guardian to stop a kid from dating, and you turned it into a masterclass in romance. Anna looked at me, a sheepish smile flickering in her eyes. She asked cautiously, then why didn't you call in the Guardian again later? I looked at her, speechless. If I had called you again, I was afraid you'd arrange their engagement on the spot, and then I wouldn't be able to explain myself even if I had 10 mouths. She clasped her hands together and apologized repeatedly. I'm sorry. Bobby Jinx looked so cute at the time, I couldn't help saying a few random things. She pressed her lips together and was just about to raise her cup of tea to toast me, when her phone suddenly rang. She answered. I didn't know what the person on the other end said, but her previously gentle expression changed at once. Xiaobo is sick. I'm coming back right now. After hanging up, she told me that her nephew had developed a fever and was vomiting at home. Bobby Jinx's parents were both away during this period. There was only a nanny at home looking after him. Worried about the child's condition, I offered to go with her to check on him. Anna and I had just reached the entrance of the banquet hall, when we ran straight into Willow. Chapter 12. Willow's face was dark as she deliberately blocked our path. She looked us up and down coldly. Anna asked me softly, you know her? I nodded and gestured for her to wait outside first. Anna glanced at me, then at Willow, whose face was full of displeasure. She quietly said, I'll wait for you at the door, before stepping aside. The moment she left, Willow questioned me with sarcasm and anger in her voice. What? You just met her and you're already going out together? Her eyes were red as she blocked me from leaving. I frowned. Willow, move. I have something urgent. Urgent. She stood in front of me, her tone dripping with mockery. What urgent matter makes you take some woman you just met out in the middle of the night? Go on, tell me. My patience was almost gone. I said irritably. What does it have to do with you? We've already broken up. Her body trembled slightly. Her voice seemed to be forced through clenched teeth. What does it have to do with me? Who was it just last month saying he loved me, saying he wanted to marry me? She paused slightly. Her gaze was like a sharp, icy needle, piercing straight into my eyes. And now you're saying it has nothing to do with me? George, are you really this irresponsible? My best friend was right. I must have been blind to fall for a useless loser like you. No money, no ability, nothing. I stared at her blankly. Suddenly, it felt like nothing I said would matter. I forced down the surge of emotion and turned my face away. You said it yourself, I replied. That was last month. Willow, from now on, you and I have nothing to do with each other. I stopped being polite, pushed past her, and walked out. She screamed hysterically behind me. If you take one more step today, don't ever expect me to turn back. But I didn't stop for even a second. I walked away without looking back. Chapter 13. After picking up the child, Anna and I rushed him straight to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed him with acute gastroenteritis. They prescribed some medicine and sent us home. Once the child had fallen asleep, Anna suddenly received a call from dispatch, asking her to return to work. She was worried about her nephew and didn't really want to go. Seeing the hesitation on her face, I offered to stay the night. After all, he was my student, and with the added layer of this indirect friendship, it felt only right. I didn't have anything urgent to do anyway, so I stayed to help take care of him. Anna thanked me again and again. Late that night, I received a message from Willow. It was a screenshot of a WeChat conversation. That blind date guy had asked her out to watch a movie. It read, "Are you free the day after tomorrow? Want to catch a movie together? I'll drive to pick you up." Willow's reply, "Sure, I'm free." I tugged at the corner of my mouth in a faint smile and turned off my phone. Chapter 14. 3 days later, I received a call from Anna. She said she wanted to treat me to dinner to thank me. While I was hesitating, I heard her nephew shouting through the phone, "Teacher, you have to come. My aunt finally has some free time to take me out for something good." Unable to refuse such enthusiasm, I agreed. We arrived at a restaurant. The waiter led us to our seats. The moment I sat down, I saw Willow at the table next to ours, and sitting across from her was that blind date. When Willow turned her head, our gazes met midair. Her expression darkened instantly. At that moment, Bobby Jinx leaned close to me to talk. Kids never bother lowering their volume. Teacher, I didn't properly introduce her last time. My aunt has long legs, a tiny waist. She's talented and can dance. Teacher, don't you love scrolling through videos of pretty girls dancing? Want to consider being my uncle-in-law? Then she can dance just for you. A mouthful of lemon water went down the wrong way again. I coughed repeatedly. Damn it, how does he know that? Anna handed me a tissue and warned Bobby Jinx. That's enough. Stop talking nonsense. Willow's face was tightly drawn. Suddenly, in a chilly tone, she mocked. George, is this how you set an example as a teacher? The blind date across from her heard that and finally turned to look at me. The man was dressed in a tailored high-end suit, his hairstyle neat and sharp. His demeanor was as composed as in the photo. He sat facing Willow, the two of them looking perfectly matched, as if made for each other. Chapter 15. I had just been about to say something to Willow, when the man smiled at me first and greeted me politely. So you're George. I've heard Aunt Lou mention you before. Didn't expect we'd meet today. I had no choice but to suppress my emotions for the moment and greet him courteously. He then turned the topic to my job. I heard you're a teacher. Which school do you work at? Bobby Jinx reacted instantly and blurted out, experimental primary school. That seemed to open the floodgates. When I first came back to the country, I actually considered becoming a teacher, the men said smoothly. At the time, Chingda Private School even tried to recruit me. The salary package they offered was quite good. But in the end, I chose to become a lawyer. I knew the school he was talking about, the top private elementary school in the city. Its teachers were famously well compensated, but it clearly required that a teacher's first degree be from a top domestic or international university. It truly was an excellent school, so excellent that between it and my academic background lay a natural chasm. He continued. I still have the principal's contact information. If you ever want to change jobs, I can ask for you. Willow picked up where he left off, her tone laced with sarcasm. A look of disdain crossed her face. He's not like you. You graduated from a prestigious university. Of course it makes sense for them to recruit you. With his ordinary university degree, he probably wouldn't even make it past the resume screening. You don't need to go to that trouble for him. Chapter 16. As soon as she finished, Anna calmly took over the conversation. Education should value a teacher's character and ability more. It shouldn't be decided solely by a diploma. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough for everyone to hear. A school that judges people only by their credentials is destined to miss out on real talent. Bobby Jinx chimed in eagerly. Exactly. Mr. Wang's classes are really interesting. He's my favorite teacher. Anna lifted her eyes and met mine. As far as I know, Mr. Wang won the Provincial Young Teachers Comprehensive Teaching Skills Gold Award. First prize at the 8th Orange Cup National Classroom Teaching Competition. First prize at the National Young Teachers Teaching Demonstration Event. He absolutely deserves to be called an outstanding teacher. As she listed my honors one by one as if reciting them from memory, my mind was filled with one question. How does she know all this? Lost in thought, I inadvertently met Willow's gaze. She said nothing, but her eyes were dark and unreadable. Chapter 17. Willow and her date had arrived earlier than we had. They finished their meal quickly. After paying the bill, the waiter hesitantly made a request, asking them to leave a review for the restaurant on a ratings app. Willow had never liked doing things like that, so she simply handed her phone directly to the waiter, letting her handle it herself. The waiter, who seemed new, wasn't very skilled with the phone. After copying the prepared review text, she made a mistake during the photo upload step. She accidentally tapped into one of Willow's photos. The blind date caught sight of it immediately. He suddenly asked, "Why do you have a photo like this on your phone? Are you and George dating?" Willow pressed her lips together and said nothing. Only after the waiter finished, apologized repeatedly, and hurried away, did Willow speak. I had assumed she would deny it as she always did, but this time, she shocked everyone. "Yes," she said, "he's my boyfriend." Chapter 18. Willow's blind date ended on a sour note. The moment I stepped through the front door, my mom dragged me into the living room. The barely concealed delight on her face was almost blinding under the lights. Before I could even sit down, a barrage of questions rained down on me. "You and Willow are really dating? You brat. How could you even hide this from your own mother? When did you start? Do you know?" After telling Aunt Lou, Willow said she's done with blind dates. She said she's set on you, won't marry anyone but you. Speechless, I said. "Mom, wait, just listen to me first." My head was buzzing. I quickly cut her off. "We already broke up." The smile on her face froze instantly. Then more words spilled out of her in rapid succession, urgent and heavy, like beans pouring from a sack. She went on about how wonderful Willow was, About how we'd grown up together and knew each other inside out. She said Willow was the perfect daughter-in-law candidate, that I should know how to hold on tight. I stopped listening. I turned around and shut my bedroom door, blocking all of her nagging outside. All the twists and turns of these past 3 years, I had no way to explain them, and no desire to. Aunt Lou had always treated me like her own son. Now that my fate with Willow had come to an end, there was no need to drag those complicated reasons out into the daylight. The feelings were gone, but the warmth and sincerity that had once truly existed, I wanted to leave them with a dignified ending. Before falling asleep that night, my screen lit up with a message from Anna. Is she really your girlfriend? In the darkness, I replied, ex-girlfriend. Then I stared at the ceiling and let out a helpless, bitter smile. Chapter 19. That night, Willow couldn't sleep. The photo in question was nothing more than an ordinary snapshot taken at a scenic spot. Her hand was casually looped around George's arm. There was nothing inherently intimate about the photo. She could have easily explained it away. But when her gaze collided with the undisguised admiration in that woman's eyes as she looked at George, the words of explanation suddenly stuck in her throat. The woman had spoken passionately about his achievements at work, and those achievements, Willow had known nothing about them. A chill ran down her spine. Only then did she belatedly realize she had never cared about his feelings, never paid attention to his accomplishments, and had grown used to overlooking the light that belonged to him. For the first time, she felt a real, tangible panic. Almost instinctively, she posted that photo on her WeChat Moments, publicly announcing her relationship with George. In an instant, a flood of likes and comments engulfed him, like a hurried, almost frantic attempt at making amends. Chapter 20. When I woke up the next day, my WeChat was flooded with messages from classmates. They were all congratulating Willow and me. I was completely confused, until I saw the post she had made in the early hours of the morning. Only then did I understand what had happened. I immediately got up and went to find Willow, wanting an explanation. I couldn't understand what she was trying to do. She had agreed to break up, so why create this kind of misunderstanding? She opened the door. She was alone at home. She looked like she hadn't slept all night. Her eyes were red. When she spoke, her voice was dry and hoarse. Didn't you say you wanted to make it public? I posted it. Now all our relatives and friends know. And I changed my profile picture to a couple one. Can you change yours to match mine? Seeing that I didn't respond, she stepped closer and shook my arm. George, I don't want to break up. I never really wanted to break up with you. I looked at her coldly. But I truly want to break up. Her eyes slowly reddened further. There was a hint of panic in her voice. What else do you want me to do? Just tell me, okay? Or have you really fallen for that woman? Why does she know so much about you? She likes you, doesn't she? Speechless, I replied. This has nothing to do with anyone else. I'm just tired. Being with you is too exhausting. I asked her. Why is it that only after we broke up, you're finally willing to make us public? Back in our student days, teachers would explain problems to her. If she didn't understand one method, they would patiently switch to another, until she finally got it. But this problem called love, I spent 3 years trying to teach it to her, and she still never learned. She was so intelligent. How could she truly not understand? She fell silent for a moment, unable to answer. After a long pause, she spoke in a hoarse voice. I won't be like that anymore. I can change. George, we've known each other for so many years. Can you really bear to break up with me? She took a photo out of her bag. It was an old photograph, already yellowed with age. In it were the two of us at 6 years old, standing in front of a park, smiling brightly at the camera, the boy holding the girl's hand. I took the photo, and along the line of our once tightly clasped hands, I slowly tore it into 2 pieces. Willow, let's stop here. That relationship had once eaten away at my courage and dignity like maggots, day and night, until eventually it consumed all the love I had. Only after my heart was emptied out, did I finally rise from the deep sea. The surface stretched wide and bright, and I understood. The one who had trapped me all along was myself. Chapter 21. After that, Willow kept using the matching couple profile picture. She tried to win back our relationship in a posture of waiting. One day, the bottom right corner of my WeChat lit up with a red 99+ notification. When I tapped into it, I realized she had deleted countless posts, but she had kept the ones I had commented on. They sat there alone on her timeline, and most of my comments had never received a reply back then. I had once been confused. I had questioned her. I asked, why do you never reply to my comments? Every time, she avoided giving a direct answer. Instead, she would act cute and brush it off. Isn't it better to talk face to face? I just don't like replying to comments. It was only much later that I understood. It wasn't that she didn't see my comments. It wasn't that she didn't like replying. She just didn't want this relationship to have even the slightest risk of being exposed. I was the boyfriend she was ashamed to let people know about. Now, one by one, Those old comments reappeared before my eyes. I had commented, "Want to eat that? Then I'll take you." She replied, "Okay, will you take me this weekend?" I had commented, "Willow, good luck in the competition." She replied, "Thanks, hubby, I'll do my best." I had commented proudly, "This photo looks amazing. Who took it?" She replied, "My boyfriend did. He's really good at taking pictures of me." Those messages had once lain in her comment section, ignored by everyone. 3 years later, they finally received her earnest replies. All the responses she had never given me during those 3 years of dating, she now offered them with both hands, as if determined to patch up the holes of the past. But that cold rain had fallen for 3 years before it soaked through my heart. The once burning sincerity had long since scattered into the cold wind. Not a single strand could ever be gathered back again. Chapter 22. When winter break ended, I moved back into the school dormitory. Willow came by a few times intermittently, but I avoided seeing her. After a while, she finally stopped coming. No one waits forever for a heart that has gone cold. In April, I began preparing for the non-full-time graduate entrance exam. I worked while studying. Every day was filled with lesson planning, teaching, meetings, grading papers, memorizing vocabulary, reading professional texts, doing practice questions. Life moved like clockwork, steady and rhythmic. I was busy, but deeply fulfilled. In June, the admission letter I had long dreamed of finally arrived in my hands. I took a photo of it and posted it on my WeChat Moments. The first person to like it was Anna. Her comment followed right after. Simple and brief. "Congratulations, Mr. Wong." Soon, the screen was flooded with likes and congratulations. Among all that lively noise, I also saw Willow's name, but I no longer cared about her acknowledgement. When I stopped lowering my own altitude, I finally saw within myself that quiet yet solid beam of light. 2 months after the new semester began, Bobby Jinx's first love ended in failure. That day, Anna and I sat with him in a McDonald's. He answered a call on his little kid's smartwatch, and suddenly burst into loud, dramatic sobs right there in the restaurant. Through his tears, he choked out, "She said I crossed the line yesterday, over the boundary line, by 0.5 centimeters. She said I broke my promise, that I'm not a good man, and she's breaking up with me." After dinner, he dragged us to a KTV to sing. He belted out a sorrowful rendition of Under Mount Fuji, leaving me completely stunned. Anna handed him tissues, but couldn't resist adding salt to the wound. Tears soaked the little genius watch, loving while being electrocuted. I truly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 23. By autumn, the air was filled with the fragrance of osmanthus blossoms. I ran into Willow unexpectedly at my doorstep. When she saw me, her steps faltered. A flicker of surprise she couldn't quite hide passed through her eyes. We stood face to face and calmly exchanged updates about our lives. In an even tone, as if mentioning it casually, she said, "There's an overseas assignment opportunity at my company, Europe, about a year." I sincerely congratulated her. The osmanthus tree by the door was in full bloom. As we parted, she walked through a drizzle of golden petals before suddenly stopping. When she turned back to look at me, a few blossoms spiraled down and landed in her hair, like the loneliness of an entire autumn settling there. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Is there even the slightest chance you'd want me to stay?" I smiled faintly and waved at her. "Willow, have a safe trip." The sight of her turning away was filled with desolation, so different from the radiant girl she once was. Chapter 24. Bobby Jinx was still the most mischievous troublemaker in the class. One day, he mysteriously pulled me to a corner of the hallway. Standing on tiptoe, he cupped his little hands around his mouth and whispered, "George, I've got a secret. Don't tell my aunt." I agreed. "All right, go on," he said. "My parents actually got back from their trip last week. At yesterday's parent-teacher meeting, my mom was supposed to come." He paused, then dropped the bombshell. "My aunt called my mom specially and said, 'Sis, let me go this time. It's obvious my aunt likes you. You need to take off while the skies are clear.'" After saying that, he stepped back half a pace and tilted his head at me. "George, if you become my uncle-in-law, can you give me a little less homework?" My heart skipped a beat. I quickly put on a stern face and urged him to hurry back to class. As soon as I returned to my office, I received a message. Anna had sent me a photo. She was sitting on a plane, taking a selfie with the window view behind her. At 10,000 meters above the ground, she was sending me a stretch of brilliant sunshine. Below the photo, she had written, "The current airspace conditions are good. You may consider taking off."